right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Career Conversations. Today, we have an industrial designer with us, and he is going to talk to us all about the things that he's done in his life and how he's made a career out of his interests and passions, and how he's actually made some very interesting choices along the way, and how his career has led him down different paths. So with that, I'd like to welcome Drew Smedley. Drew, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so I'd like to just start with the question of the hour. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. My name is Drew Smedley. I have been working in industrial design for the last 25 years, so a long time. Right now, I am the Vice President of Design, Development, and Engineering at a company called Vaswani. Vaswani manufactures retail design fixtures. So you walk into a retail store, you'll see everything that displays product. And so that's what I work on is all those things that you see in a retail store. So you go into Target and you'll see things with jeans on it. Those are some of the things that I work on a daily basis. Um, I I collaborate with designers and engineers around the country. Earlier today, I was on a call with 20 different people, all different disciplines, working on solving solutions for a retail space. Um, I work remotely out of Sacramento. The company, Vaswani, is actually headquartered in New Jersey. And so I've worked remotely for over 7 years. It's given me the ability to sort of live where I want, but then still keep maintain a full-time job. I travel back to New Jersey every probably month and a half or so, just to touch base with the team and to maybe look at a prototype or some product that's going on. Um, I am married. I am an empty nester now. We do have one special need daughter at home, but it's pretty much my wife and I.
Awesome. Okay, so if you were to kind of package what you do to just give it in simple terms to teenagers, how would you describe what you do?
We will take, let's say somebody sketches a design out on a napkin. We call it a napkin sketch. We will take that design and develop it further into maybe a pretty rendering so people can visualize what it looks like. And then we will engineer it and make sure that it can be manufactured. And then we will take that engineer drawing and send it to a manufacturing facility who will make it. I work in from the beginning to end. So I am working with the customer who comes up with the sketch. I take that sketch and will um, design it, make a pretty picture of it, and then follow that process all the way through. So I work with the engineers directly, sort of giving them the vision of what the customer wants, and then modifying those engineering drawings to make it manufacturable.
Awesome. Okay. So to sum it all up, so you're taking a napkin sketch. So just like a drawing from in its like early days in its like infancy and
Yep,
ultimately creating a product out of it.
correct. Yep,
That's
yep, yep.
amazing. That's super cool. So how did you tell us about your journey into design? Like how did you get started? Or did you have like hobbies that kind of like led the way? Or how did you get started in all that?
Sure. So, um, early on, I had a passion for art and design. Both of my grandfathers were artists. One was a professor at a university and taught art and design. The other was an ornamental iron worker. And so I grew up around those things. And so in high school, those were my favorite classes. I loved art and design classes. The art teachers loved me because I just put so much time into it, that it really really began early on for me. My both my parents are artists. They still paint to this day. I'll go visit them, and they've got big canvases up, and they're painting down in their basement. And so I was sort of surrounded by that. And so as I sort of wrapped up high school, what do you want to do? And I'd always in the back of my mind wanted to be an architect. And so, um, through the last part of high school and even in the first part of college, my mind was architect. I wanted to be an architect. I loved being in studio classes. I loved art classes. And so that just carried through. Um, in in college, I had taken 2 years of architecture, and one of the classes was go and interview an architect. So, uh, 2 years in, I went and interviewed an architect and found out what an architect really does. And it wasn't really what I wanted to do. So I wanted to do more design. Architects were involved with, laying out rooms and doing electrical and plumbing and air conditioning and things like that. And those things I wanted to be more involved in the design. So I wasn't sure what that was. So I researched and found a career or a path called industrial design. And industrial design is you design and develop products. So anything from let's see. Your iPhone was designed. If you have an iPhone or a Galaxy or any of those, were designed by an industrial designer to a mixer in your kitchen or a grill. All those things, somebody touched it from an industrial design standpoint to make it look good, to make it function. And so I switched majors from architecture to industrial design. I switched schools because the school I was at the time did not even have an industrial design program. And so I switched schools and found a program that fit what I was doing. The program I joined was more associated with the engineering department than it was the art department. Most industrial design programs are linked to art. This one was linked with manufacturing or engineering, and so it gave me a much greater depth into the way things are made. How does a plastic piece be made? How do metal pieces weld together? So it gave me a greater background in understanding that. And so I switched schools, switched majors, went into industrial design, graduated, and my first role out of college was with an automotive company. So I worked for the first few years out of college working for, it was a tier one supplier. So the company I worked for did all the interiors of cars. And so we worked with all three big companies, Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler at the time. This was back in the early 2000s, so 25 years ago. And so I worked on the interior of automobiles. We would do the consoles or the buttons that you push, or the steering column, or even the gear shifter and the area between the two front seats. We would work on all of those, and we would make clay models. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but in automotive they use a lot of clay to make the shape of what they want to do, and so we would out of clay make what this would look like, and we would put chairs next to it, and you would feel and understand what it would look like when it got to being manufactured. And we could easily change clay. It's very malleable, and so you can change it quickly. And if a curve you don't like, you can just go and make a new curve. And so I did that for a couple of years, and then um, I was approached by another company, one that did what I do now, which was retail fixtures. And at the time, I was just working on all these small little things, and I wanted to really be involved in a bigger sphere and be more involved in whole settings. And so this gave me that opportunity. Now we're looking at a whole store or working at a big department within a store. So it gave me a lot more ability to design beyond what I was doing. So I went from automotive manufacturing to wood and metal manufacturing, which are very, very different. In automobiles, there's a lot of plastic and injection molding, and in store fixtures, it's more wood parts that are joined together and metal that's welded together. And so it really was a major shift from what I was doing before. But I loved it. I had some freedoms that I wasn't able to do before. One of my first projects, I designed this front area of a Kohl's retail store, and I sent them my sketches and my drawings. And a week and a half later, they said, "Let's meet at the store." We met at the store, and they had built it in a matter of a week, so that they could sort of get what it was looking at. It was just amazing. Here I'd been just doing these little knobs that took long, long 6, 7 months. You're doing these little knobs to now within a week and a half, they had built this entire wall and structure that I had figured out how to put it together, how it looked, and the sizes and all those things. So it was just amazing. Um, so that led me into this, where now I work with retailers across the country. I work with stores like Macy's and Kohl's and Bloomingdale's and Nordstrom's and Nike, Fossil, Sephora, who is headquarters in San Francisco Bay. I work with them on a weekly basis on projects. So now that's from working on one little thing. Now I'm meeting with designers and groups of people from all over the country with all the different retailers. So it's
Oh,
really been exciting to be able to be involved with all those different people. And like I mentioned earlier, I was on a call earlier this morning where I'm on a call with designers, and there were two or three architects in the call. There was project managers that will be at the job site. There was a GC. There's all these people that come together to make one store come together and be built and to be fleshed out. And so it's exciting.
that's very cool. So, I mean, obviously, your career is taking you, I mean, you're starting with your college experience, really, it's taking you different places that you didn't expect. And obviously, your career has done that as well. I actually didn't realize that you were using different mediums to create. You were talking earlier about like napkin drawing, so I'm thinking just, you're sketching a lot. And hearing that you were using modeling, um, using clay and then working with wood and then now metal. I mean that you're using a lot of different mediums and having I'm sure having to have a lot of understanding along the way also in how those different types of materials work together and all the things. I mean that's really interesting. So ultimately, has your career taken you places that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I mean, it's given me so many opportunities I never thought possible. I've been to conferences all over the world. I've been in Europe and Asia, and either meeting with manufacturers or meeting at conferences. Uh, right now, I travel not as much as I used to, but I used to travel around the country quite a bit, visiting retailers. Now that things are done with Zoom conferencing now, that's scaled back where we can now meet quickly on a call or on a video call and do it. But I last week I was down in the Bay Area meeting with Ross department stores. I was meeting with a company called Blue Bottle and Sephora, and they're all headquartered down there. And so I would spent the day down there with actually two of them, working on some projects and going through some new development. We had developed some prototypes and was showing that to them. So
That's
it's
amazing.
really taken me around the country and around the world.
Very cool. I love that. So lots of travel. So for teenagers who are really interested in this, how can they start a path in industrial design now?
I mean the thing that I did in when I was growing up and even in high school was just being creative, sketching out. If you enjoy drawing, sketching things out. If you enjoy doing things on the computer, um, uh, just do it. Put down paper to pencil and draw. I put together growing up. I put together cardboard shapes and designs, making different things with that. And that actually transitioned to some of the classes I took in college, where we had one of my 3D design classes required us to make a cone out of paper or a cylinder out of paper, which is very challenging to do out of thin paper. But sort of the things that I had done when I was growing up and in high school helped me to be more successful at that. Um, there are softwares now that are free, like SketchUp, that you can get on and do 3D modeling and just play around with different shapes. And with AI, we're starting to use AI in developing and as part of the design process. And those tools are very easy to get on and just give prompts and directions and come up with amazing different designs. But it's really just if you enjoy something, do it. If you enjoy sketching, sketch it out. If you enjoy making something 3D, do that. A lot of people have 3D printers now in their homes, and I have one that I use for work and for personal. And so it's just you just have to jump in and not be afraid to try something new, to sketch out something different. And art is so many different things, from realistic photos to abstract art. I mean, it can be whatever your mind wants it to be. It's just you have complete freedom in designing it.
So you've been able to make a career out of something that you're obviously very passionate about and something that you love. So what would you say is the most fun part of your job? And along those same lines, what would you say is the hardest part?
Um, So I mean, just love just that first experience I shared where I had sketched something out and done some initial drawings, and then a week later somebody had taken it and built it. And it's just amazing to walk around a retail store and see people interacting. Nobody even realizes that the products that they're buying, they're sitting on something that somebody designed, and to see people interact with those items. I mean, we do monitors and lighting, and to see somebody, interact with those and to make a sale or to have something that sells product better because of the way it looks or feels is just it's really enjoyable and get a lot of satisfaction out of it.
Love that.
Um, the hardest part, I mean, is there in my profession, there is a very, very tight time frame. There are key deadlines, and meeting those deadlines can be very challenging. There are times when I've got to put in many, many hours in a short amount of time to get something designed and engineered because they what in retail they will have what they call a product launch. And so let's say they have a new something they want to sell. Let's say the iPhone. They have a new iPhone they want to sell. Well, they usually will want to have some way to display it so it looks really cool. And so they are trying to design this display that coincides with when the product will be at the store. And so they've got things shipping in, and we've got to have it come in ahead of time. And so it creates a lot of deadlines and there's a lot of stress and pressure around meeting those deadlines. So as fun as creating and designing is, the flip side is there's pressures to get things done in a quick time, to make it work, to make it so it doesn't hurt anybody. There's lots of things that we're doing, but in a very short time frame. So it can be very challenging.
I see. So it sounds like there's been a lot of opportunity for growth for you within not just your industry, but within your company as well. Um, if somebody were to be interested in starting out like as an entry level position, what kind of education would that require?
Um, an industrial design degree is a good starting spot. There are many industrial design programs around the country. Many schools can offer it, and some are more focused. Some are more geared towards automotive. So there are schools in California actually that are very focused, and Detroit are the two main hubs for automotive. Um, but it's getting an industrial design degree to do what I do. There are many other art and design degrees. My daughter is a graphic artist, and she absolutely loves it. And we have the same language. We use the same softwares, and there is a common thread between those two, between graphic design and industrial design. She's more 2D. I do more three-dimensional things, but the language we talk is very similar. And so um, to pursue or go further, you could do that. I've got a niece that just loves art and she does a great job with art and she has an art degree and she just loves to sketch and do things like that. So to go further in this and to be hired, you would need some type of art design or industrial design degree.
I love that you're keeping it all in the family and that this really is just the art genes must run really strong in your family. What's one thing that you wish you had known before you went into this career?
Um, the 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 interacting with people. I am a more uh, quiet person, and so I didn't realize there was going to be so much interaction with people, and so I didn't realize that at first, and so I think having better skills with communicating and things would have helped me. I mean, I've overcome some of those things, but initially I just wanted to do my own little design and not interact with anybody, but I soon realized it doesn't work like that. I've got to work with a lot of people and so I think if I had broadened that, that would have helped me interact with all these different people that are involved with manufacturing and making things.
Speaking of all the things that you've made, I'm just wondering if you would be willing to share a few of the projects that you're especially proud of.
Sure. Let me share my screen. Let's see. I don't think that's the right one. Was that what did you see up?
That was a room, and it was a black and white drawing of,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, perfect. This is something I've been working on actually the last week or so. Um, and what I wanted to show this first because it sort of shows some of the process. So I designed this in SketchUp, which is a software program that's very easy to use. And then that turned into a rendering like this. Now, I used to do rendering. I don't have time. There's a bit of an art to making a pretty picture like this, and we'll look at some that are a little bit more detailed. But I send this out now, so I'll send the 3D model I created out to somebody who specializes in renderings, and they'll come back and create this special picture. Now, this is for a company called Fashion File, and this is actually going to go in Europe. This is going to go into the UK, into one of the shops there.
Oh, wow.
Um, this is another example of a rendering. And so we designed all these different elements and then sent it off to be rendered. But you can see this with product, which makes it nice. So sometimes the customer just wants to see it bare, and sometimes the customer wants to see what does it look like with product. And so we'll fill it out with product so they can sort of visualize it. Not everybody can visualize what a space will look like. It helps to have these color renderings. It helps to put product in it so they can see what it looks like. This was one for Total Wine. They were experimenting with how to display their product, and so we looked at doing a curve or we looked at doing it straight, and they liked the look of this. It seemed more appealing than just a straight row of bottles. Um, this is one for a company in Canada. And this is a jewelry department, or excuse me, a cosmetics department. Um, and so we would play with different colors so that their executives could sort of see what it looks like in different color schemes. So whether they wanted something that was pink or something that was green, they could sort of see that really quickly without having to build anything. We can do these renderings in a day. Um, This is a design we did for Land's End in a Kohl's store. So they put this department inside. So it's got a canopy, it's got lighting, it's got graphics, it's got just different displays for the different products that you see here. This is a fossil store we did down in San Antonio. I went down there a couple times while they were installing it. In this one, we used a lot of real woods, a lot of metal, and then a lot of lighting. This is for J. Crew. I'm not sure if you've heard of J. Crew, but they sell men's and women's clothing. But we designed these trays at the bottom here. We would um, you would display shelves and you would want them to come out halfway, and then you would have to come up with the mechanism so they stay out. They don't didn't want them to get pushed in, so the product would stay out. And so these are just little details that we worked on. Um, I've worked with Under Armour and Nike. This is probably the biggest one that I'm uh, most excited about because this is Sephora put their stores in Kohl's. They went into all the Kohl's stores and put in a shop. And this is a rendering, an early rendering, but they wanted this big beam to run across the front. And how do you support an 80-foot beam in a store? And so we worked. This was one of those one. There was a tight time frame. They wanted this whole thing developed in a matter of a couple months, and we needed to react quickly. And this is the finished product. So this first picture was a rendering. This is sort of what they wanted it to look like, and then in the end, this is what it did look like. But we had to figure out how to support this 80-foot beam that ran across the front of the store. So it didn't sag. It looked good. It held the Sephora logo and the lighting. And then not only the beam, we designed all the fixture, not designed, we manufactured all the fixtures that were on the shop floor. So um, this was, it's probably been we did this about 3 years ago, probably the biggest and exciting project I've worked on.
Yeah, these are super cool. Wow, I really love this. Thank you for sharing. I love
Yeah.
that. So, based on everything that you just showed us, what would you say is a common misconception about what you do?
I think probably one of the biggest things is people just don't realize that there is a designer behind something, behind a product. They don't realize that there's a designer that put time into that. I'll go into a store and talk to a sales associate and talk about designing. They're like, "Really? You designed it?" And it's like, yeah, somebody had to figure out what it looks like, what it feels like, whether it's lit up or dark, and all those different things. And so as people walk around, they just don't realize that somebody's put time into that product. Even the things around your let's say your kitchen, the silverware that you have, somebody designed the shape of that fork or that knife. A lot of you look at different coffee mugs and cups. Everybody uses them daily, but they don't realize it's behind that somebody actually created the shape and the size of it, and so. It's just not realizing that so much is designed around us.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize it even just it wasn't until you showed the pictures that I was like, wow, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able to visualize it and see what you do, that's really cool. Um, so for new designers particularly, what would you say that colleges or even employers, what would you say that they're looking for in the next generation of incoming designers?
I think, I mean, one of the big things is just having a wide variety of experience. And when I say that, being able to sketch, being able to do something on the computer, they're really looking for you to be able to solve problems. My job is full of problems. I I have a philosophy of ranking problems. So there's problems that are very simple, and then there's problems that are more complex. And if you know how to separate those and address the complex ones, employers are really looking for ways to overcome challenges. If you can work through a problem and demonstrate that, then and a design and things like that that you can really make an impression on a company. And a good portfolio, you always need to be able to show your work, what it looks like. I've had over my career a variety of different portfolios, depending on the job I was applying for. But be able to show somebody what you do and how you do it is really important. And my daughter's portfolio is online now. Mine, when I grew up, I carried it around and went to an interview with it in a sleeve. But they want to be able to see what you can do, um, and being able to show that is really important.
Yeah, I remember that too. I actually I got my first teaching job with like a binder portfolio,
Yeah.
like the old-fashioned kind. These kids probably have no idea what we're talking about, but I
Yep, yep,
remember that too.
yep.
So aside from a portfolio, what would you say is your best advice for young people who are looking to get into your career?
I think it's important stay let's see, stay curious with what's going on around you. How do things work? How do things function? What supports a table? What do you need to support a table? Do you need four legs, or can you do it with just one? And try to think, of ways to solve things that are different. And I think that's a big skill to have, is just to be able to think maybe a little bit different. They'll say think outside the box. How are things done that might be a little bit different? Do you need a fork to eat? Is there another way you can do it? And then when you try something that doesn't work, don't be afraid to fail. I mean, if something doesn't work, all right, start over. There's been many, many things that I've done in my career where it just didn't work. And I took that knowledge, and the next time I designed something, I would implement that. And so if you're worried about failing, don't be. It's part of what we do to learn and to grow. And it allows us to go into the next step of our development. Um, but if you have an interest in something, whether it's art or engineering or architecture, just explore it. If you like to draw buildings, continue to do that and show people and get advice. If you have anybody that has an art background around you, show it to them, let them see it, and they'll be more than willing to give you some pointers or a critique of it and help you improve.
Yeah, good advice. That's great advice. Well, Drew, before I open it up to the audience Q&A, I'm just going to sign off for all of our visitors who are watching and listening remotely. So, thank you very much for joining us today. And with that, we are going to end this Friday Focus.